Former President Donald Trump is getting mocked online for his disastrous word salad answer when he was asked what he would do to make childcare affordable.
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. I was somebody, we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country. Because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars, and as much as child care is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in. We're going to make this into an incredible country that can afford to take care of its people, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world.
What? What was that? I have no idea what that is. But apparently, look.
I know words. I have the best words.
He has the best words. So maybe I'm just too stupid to understand what he just said. Okay. Look, it sounded like the kind of essay where you have to have, at a minimum, a certain number of words. Okay. And usually the topic is something that you could answer fairly quickly in not so many words that are needed. But instead of explaining it at all, Trump just went off on a random tangent about, you have to have childcare, and then we're going to increase tariffs. What? No. What does that have to do with childcare? No, nothing. Now, Trump, look, his proposal is to put a 60% tariff on imports from China because he hates China. China. And then a 10% across the board tariff on imports from other countries, right? Which he said he also might hike to 20% on most imports. You know what that would do? It would lead to higher prices on imports. Now, those higher prices on imports actually end up getting passed down to the consumer. You can say, well, yeah, but then that'll galvanize us to make things in America, right? Well, you have to actually set that up, set the infrastructure, do the manufacturing, and there are some things, of course, you just can't get, made in the United States. And so, even if, like, suddenly there's like a massive, plan to bring all this manufacturing and stuff back to the United States, and which, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that, of course. That's going to take time to set up, while either Americans who can't afford the additional price hikes on these goods and services coming in from other countries, not just China, they're not going to be able to either afford these things, or they'll go without, or they'll, end up spending a significant, amount of their income on these things that are being imported at a much higher price now. And so, it's going to lead to economic disaster, not to mention, of course, the whole trade war thing where you're going to put tariffs on our stuff. Huh? We're going to put all the tariffs on your stuff. And so now when you're exporting things, that's going to be more expensive for our citizens to afford. Therefore, they're going to buy less. And so what you're going to have is just more economic disaster. And how does that help childcare? It doesn't address the fact that placing 2 children at a childcare center costs at least 25% more on average than the typical rent in every state in the country, which is already disastrously high, especially in major cities. Okay, The rent is too high. It's too damn high. And then Trump, what does he have a plan for that? No, he doesn't. Of course not. And here's the thing, though. Is any of this surprising? No, it should not surprise you at all. And it probably doesn't if you've been paying attention, right? No real plans, no real plans, no real policies. Really, at the end of the day, he just wants to punish his enemies, China, right? And then cut taxes on himself and his corporate friends, okay? Now, that said, it's not the only bad answer on childcare that came from the Trump camp. The day before, you had Senator J.D. Vance, who at least gave a coherent answer, but also it wasn't very good. Take a listen to for yourself.
I think one of the things that we can do is make it easier for family models to choose, or for families to choose whatever model they want, right? So one of the ways that you might be able to relieve a little bit of pressure on people who are paying so much for daycare is make it so that you know, maybe like grandma or grandpa wants to help out a little bit more, or maybe there's an aunt or uncle that wants to help out a little bit more. If that happens, you relieve some of the pressure on all the resources that we're spending in daycare. Now, you talk about just daycare. Let's say you don't have somebody who can provide that extra set of hands. What we've got to do is actually empower people to get trained in the skills that they need for the 21st century. We've got a lot of people who love kids, who would love to take care of kids, but they can't, either because they don't have access to the education that they need, or maybe more importantly, because the state government says you're not allowed to take care of children unless you have some ridiculous certification that has nothing to do with taking care of kids. So empower people to get the skills they need. Don't force every early child care specialist to go and get a 6-year college degree where they've got a whole lot of debt and Americans are much poorer because they're paying out the wazoo for daycare. Empower working families, empower people who want to do these things for a living, and that's what we got to do.
Now, I said the answer was coherent, but didn't make a lot of sense. So, number one, just get grandma and grandpa to do it. Oh, great. Except that's not really a reality as well, because you've got older people who are working at Walmart because they cannot afford to retire. All right? That's grandma and grandpa. According to research from labor economist and professor at the New School for Social Research, Teresa Ghilarducci, just 10% of Americans between the ages of 62 and 70 who are retired are financially stable, meaning they either are in poverty or they have to work. Most older Americans that are retired live below the standard of living that they had when they were working, or they can't afford to stop working. That's why you see so many older people that are working these jobs, like being the greeter at Walmart. Yeah, that's a disaster. Now, don't worry though. J.D. Vance, it says, well, I mean, look, obviously, if that can't happen, if you can't have grandma and grandpa do it, then let's just let any rando off the street take care of your kids. Oh, gee, I can't imagine anything bad happening there. Yeah, why don't we get rid of those certifications, right? I mean, you know, nothing bad will happen. I mean, use some certifications, right? Really? Do you know what those classes teach? CPR and first aid. Kind of important, okay? Food handling, proper food handling, okay? You don't want to get kids get sick. Making sure the kids are able to sleep safely, okay? Recognizing and reporting child abuse and neglect, also pretty important. Early childhood development. Seems like he would want someone there, among other things, by the way. Seems like he would want someone there who is able to do first aid and is certified watching your children. I think it'd be a useful skill to have, just in case of an emergency. And look, on the costs, right? There's a lot of relatively cheap or even free courses that you can take to get those certifications. I think one of the bigger issues is the people who actually take care of the kids don't really get paid as much. So maybe do something about that. But here's the thing. It's the problem with the right wing. They see real problems, but they don't have any real solutions to it. Okay? That's the issue. That's the problem. No real solutions here. Trump just went off in some 2-minute rambling thing about, childcare, very important, you have to have it. And that's why I'm going to do a trade war with China. And then this guy's like, just get grandma and grandpa to do it. Or Make it so that any random person off the street is going to be able to take care of your child. That's their plans. That's their plans. Now, the internet weighed in on this. I'm going to show you, tell you a couple of responses to the video. Sean Caston wrote, "Towering stupidity. This is for Trump. The people listening know it. The people around him know it. Word salad. Not even pretending to have a single coherent idea. Vote for smart people." Peter Heinlein adds, "This isn't conservative or common sense." Another adds, "To this day, after doing business with this man, I am still dismayed about the most underreported story about this nincompoop. He is legitimately illiterate." Doesn't read. He's a one-pager kind of guy. Let's be fair about that. One-pager kind of guy. So obviously, if you're turning to Trump for policy, you're not going to get much. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.